The Ghost is no ordinary light freighter, not even close. Hera put at least 87 illegal upgrades on this Corellian-made VCX-100 powerhouse of a ship. Now there have been some famous ships to come out of Corellian Engineering Corporation, and probably the most famous of them all was the Millennium Falcon, which was a YT-1300 model.
You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? Should I have?
But if I'm being completely honest, based solely on the ships alone, my choice would hands down be the Ghost.
What?
And not just because Hera is a part of us here at Phoenix Squadron.
Liar!
Okay, maybe just a little bit. Now let's compare the base models of the VCX-100. It's quite a bit faster than the YT-1300. It's about as fast as an X-Wing, but it's a little bit slower than the basic TIE fighter. Now Han actually bluffed Lando that he owned a VCX-100.
What are you flying?
VCX-100.
That he said he would put up as collateral during a game of Sabacc in order to get Lando's Millennium Falcon. Now the Ghost has 4 sleeping quarters: Hera's, Sabine's, Kanan's, and then Zeb and Ezra's, which is hilarious that they made Zeb and Ezra share quarters instead of just Kanan moving over to Hera's. I mean, come on, we all know how this happened.
Nice.
There's also a common room where they would receive hologram transmissions and in downtime, of course, play a little holo chess. Now the base model VCX 100 firepower is pretty standard and a bit underwhelming. It has 2 CEC turrets, one 360-degree dorsal turret on the top of the ship, and a frontal turret. Now before we get into the heavily upgraded firepower, let's talk about the VCX series auxiliary starfighter that docks in the upper rear of the ship. The Phantom was a pretty awesome ship on its own. You could park it in the Ghost both forward and reverse. Now this was genius because if you were to have to make a quick getaway or being, chased by other starfighters, you could quickly just pull straight in. But you could also dock it in reverse using the MS-2B laser cannons to fire on the annoying TIE fighters trying to shoot you down from behind. The Phantom had a KX-4 dorsal laser cannon on top and also could hold 4 people plus a pilot. Now it didn't have a hyperdrive, at least not initially, but I'm going to tell you guys a pretty rad story on how it had one installed here in just a little bit. Now let's get back to the Ghost and its heavy and illegal artillery upgrades. Now the front and dorsal CEC dual laser turrets were modified to fire heavy military grade lasers, much more powerful and much more illegal than the civilian grade lasers that came stock. Hera also added 2 proton torpedo launchers, which once again was highly illegal during the Empire's reign.
The cruiser is directly over our exit. It's blocking our escape.
Their captain is showing their inexperience.
All hands, fire forward batteries. Sabine,
Fire proton torpedoes. Take evasive action.
Now, if there wasn't anyone but Hera and Chopper aboard the Ghost, and they happen to get into a dogfight, the dorsal turret could be controlled by an astromech droid socket, and Hera could control the nose turret from right there in the cockpit. Fortunately, Chopper is also a little bit of a homicidal maniac, so he was more than willing to operate the turrets at any time. Now, with this type of firepower, the Ghost could quite easily take down much larger Imperial light cruisers, and even Gazanti class cruisers. Now, we're all rebels here, so I think I can tell you guys the real reason why Hera named her ship the Ghost. So here it is. The engines were baffled energy dampeners and static jammers that made it really hard for the Imperials to detect. She also added a stealth system that allowed the Ghost to mimic solar fluctuations or cosmic radiations as picked up on most Imperial sensors.
Its signature reads the freighter Tontine, authorized for travel between Boz Pitti and Lothal. Tontine, prepare for scanning.
Idea. The signature was masked. That's the rebel ship.
All ships open fire!
It also had 2 docking rings, one on the port side and one on the starboard side, and a super powerful magnetic lock that could be activated on the bottom of the ship, which worked great for carrying fuel pods and extra cargo. Now, just after the Gorman massacre, the Ghost picks up Senator Mon Mothma, who was on the run from the Imperials, after her speech calling the Emperor a lying executioner. It shows the Ghost carrying 2 Y-wings on the starboard and port side docking rings. Now, this incident was also a huge test for both the shields and and the firepower and the speed of the Ghost. It went up against the most powerful and the fastest starfighter ever created. This is Grand Admiral Thrawn's TIE Defender. Now, in order to escape, they had to fly really close to the Archeon Nebula, with the enhanced shields helping it outlast some of the TIE interceptors, and barely outlasted the TIE Defender.
The shields are too strong!
He's got a lock on you!
We lost Gold 5! Break off, kid! Break off!
He'll be back.
Now, it even took a few shots of the ion torpedoes from the Y-wings to temporarily disable the Defender long enough for the Ghost to escape. Alright, so now I want to tell you guys the story of how the Phantom got a hyperdrive. So the planet Ibar was being blockaded by Agent Callus and the Imperials. None of the ships in Phoenix Squadron were capable of getting through, but good old Captain Rex was in contact with an engineer named Corey, who created a prototype starfighter capable of busting up the Imperial blockade. He was located on a planet called Shantipole. Now, according to rumors, the planet's atmosphere was so dangerous and so inhospitable that it was seen as a one-way trip. So of course, Kanan volunteers Hera to go.
Hera will go.
Kanan, no.
Or, as we say at my work, Hera is voluntold to go. She was the most capable pilot, and if anyone can make it down to the shipyard, it was Hera. So she takes the Ghost into orbit over the planet, and then uses the Phantom to make it down to the atmosphere. Kanan and Ezra take the Ghost back over to Ibar to help out with the rebel forces. Now, she is barely able to make it through the atmosphere before crash landing on the shipyard platform. The Phantom was damaged so bad that there was no way of making it back out in that condition. Fortunately, the, well, rather eccentric little Mon Calamari engineer helps them with the parts they need to fix it. Now, the prototype B-Wing that Corey created had some really crazy firepower, but there was a constant problem with the firepower, draining the energy needed for the hyperdrive. Now, at the same time, Kanan and Ezra were back with the Phoenix Squadron, were using the Ghost as the transport ship that would fly into Ibar and deliver some food, just as the Phoenix Squadron was ordered to attack the blockade. Now, while Hera was testing the B-Wing, Corey actually had his astromech install a hyperdrive on the Phantom, so they were able to secure the B-Wing with no hyperdrive to now the Phantom with the brand new hyperdrive and use it to get back to Ibar. From there, Hera flew the B-Wing into the blockade and of course tore it to pieces. Unfortunately, not long after, the Phantom was lost at Reclam Station during a mission to acquire some more Y-Wings that the Empire was planning to destroy. Luckily, a little bit later on the planet Agamar, Chopper spots a Sheathipede class transport shuttle that would eventually serve as the Phantom II. Now, they take the ship, which the base model actually has no weapons, and they added a bunch of modifications. They painted it, they added hull reinforcements, added port and starboard forward cannons, ventral mounted turrets, and an astromech socket located on the port side of the shuttle. They also had to modify the dock on the Ghost to fit the new ship. Now, this is the ship we see in the Ahsoka series, as Hera and Chopper are chasing a ship with a stolen hyperdrive out of Corellia. So what would you take, the Ghost or the Millennium Falcon? Let me know below. Speaking of the Ahsoka series, click here to see who Ezra Bridger is and why he's so important. Thank you guys so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.